Welcome back to the Deep Dig Sports Pod. I'm your host, Drew, my other host right over there.
What's up? It's D. Good to see you again. Be sure to hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe. Drop some comments below. Let us know your thoughts. We are going to be going into all things college football.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the new top 25. Let's just get right into this list. Let me pull it up. Bam, there we go. Oregon, number 1. Dylan Gabriel, you got Michigan this week. Georgia, number 2. Penn State, Ohio State. Let me see if I can X this out really quick. All right, how are we feeling about this top 6 right here?
I think it makes sense. I think Miami is the weakest of these 6. If we're going to be completely honest, they played the weakest schedule. They haven't really impressed the last couple weeks. So it is what it is. But I think Oregon definitely deserves to be there. They're going to be just putting the nail in the coffin for Michigan. The biggest matchup this week is Penn State, Ohio State. I have to double check. Do you know about Drew Allar? Is he going to be out for this game? If so, that's a completely different game.
I'm not sure, but I think either way, Penn State could win this game because Ohio State did not look good this last week against Nebraska. And you want to talk about teams looking weak. Like Ohio State, I think now is the time to strike for Penn State to make a statement and really take hold of this conference and really put themselves out there as a national championship contender if they're going to be one.
I think Penn State has the defense. I think we're seeing from Ohio State, people were thinking that their defense was going to be championship caliber. We're seeing leaks in that. We're seeing leaks in the pass rushes, and it hasn't been as good. The DBs haven't been as good as well hyped. But Penn State has a really good defense. The one thing is Drew Allar, so I just checked, he is going to be a game time decision. That might be the difference between Penn State winning and losing this game. If they don't go in there with Drew Allar, I give them no shot realistically. But if Drew Allar plays, I give this to Penn State.
And Ohio State's offense is streaky. Like they really rely on their playmakers to make big plays when everything's not working. And I think that could be the downfall for this Ohio State. Like just like Miami, when the big plays don't come, what are you as a team? Can you drive down the field and make a score happen when you need it? And I just don't know if Ohio State and Miami have that in them. In Miami, a tough matchup with Duke this week. Duke should have beat SMU this past week, undefeated SMU. They're 6-2, I think Duke is. This is going to be a big challenge for Miami with the Duke team that is playing above what we thought they were going to be.
Yeah, Texas gets the bye this week. I think they're obviously by proxy, they're going to move up this rankings. But you got to feel pretty good about it.
All right, then we got Tennessee, Notre Dame, BYU, A&M. Hold on. Clemson, Ohio State, and Indiana to round out this top 13 here. Notre Dame gets an easy game against Florida State. BYU, they get an off week. A&M, South Carolina could be interesting. Clemson, Louisville. Louisville really fell off since that Miami game, so that should be a win for them. Indiana, Michigan State could get a little interesting there. How good is Michigan State? They're not the best. Yeah, but
I don't think that's interesting. I think the most interesting game out of these is probably Tennessee, Kentucky.
Yeah, none of these really jumping off the page for me here. I think these are all teams that could get a win this week, which is dangerous for this playoff race because some of these teams need to start losing and falling off for the playoff picture really takes shape.
Yeah, 100%. I think like all these teams are going to continue to roll. I mean, realistically, the one that I do have in danger is going to be Tennessee not getting knocked off by Kentucky. We've seen Kentucky compete with Georgia. We've seen them knock off a number one. Like we've seen them compete at a high level, and we know that Tennessee, their offense just struggles at times. It seems like they just sputter. So I feel concerned about that. The one I feel most locked about is probably it's tied between the 11s. It's Clemson and Iowa State. I think those two teams are really good. I don't think there's anyone in their conference that can compete with them besides, well, for Iowa State, BYU.
Should undefeated Indiana and BYU be higher on this list right now?
Where would you put them?
I'm just asking. They're undefeated. You have Yeah, who do you really take out? Georgia was quality loss. Texas,
The one
Tennessee.
that you would want to see move down just because of their strength of schedule is Notre Dame, but you can't knock Notre Dame because they beat Texas A&M.
Yeah.
And that they're going to ride that win all the way. If they go undefeated, they are going to ride that win straight into the playoffs. That is their crowning jewel. That is, they have such a soft schedule, but that is going to be the one that takes them to the promised land.
Yeah, and let's move further down this list. So right at 14, we got Bama, Boise State won a fun game against UNLV. LSU drops 8 spots. They're probably going to get knocked completely off this list, if not in the low 20s, when they play Alabama next week. Kansas State, Pittsburgh, Ole Miss, SMU. Now, Pittsburgh is actually getting some notoriety here because they're undefeated and they're behind a 2-loss LSU team. They're behind Boise State. They're behind Kansas State. Is Pittsburgh getting kind of disrespected with this top 25?
They are getting disrespected here. They should be higher, but they don't have like a marquee win. That will come this week if they knock off SMU. And same thing with SMU. They're running into a buzzsaw with Pitt. I think that Pitt has a very, very underrated defense. They are the least talked about when it comes to the undefeateds. I think that they go out there and either one of them can put their stamp on this season. And I think either one would fly up the rankings because there's teams up there that don't deserve to be above either of these teams, and we're gonna see how far they can skyrocket.
Yeah, and I think both of these teams, if they win out, are going to be disrespected by the rankings. Like they need to win the ACC to get into the playoff.
See, it's gonna be tough because you have Clemson there. Like I think Clemson is a notch above each of these, and then realistically, it's Clemson and Miami because they don't play each other. They're both going to be undefeated. Those are probably going to be your two in the title game because they're going to be higher ranked than the other.
But if Pitt is undefeated, then what do you do?
Yeah, I mean, well, they're not going to be because they're going to be facing Clemson later this year. And if they can do that, if they can knock that one off, then that immediately puts them square in the playoff front. But until then, yeah, you're right. They're going to be disrespected.
Do you think who do you think bounces back and could really make a case to get back in that playoff race between Bama, LSU, and Ole Miss right here?
I would say it has to be realistically, it got to be LSU, right? I mean, they've had the showcase of like their ceiling is really high, but their floor is higher than Bama's floor or Ole Miss's floor. So I would go with LSU. I think they have a better team. Yeah, we just took a loss to a Texas A&M team and they got smashed, but I don't think it's such a bad loss. I think Texas A&M one has an awesome defense, championship caliber. Two, they have an amazing home field advantage. And three, I think that it was coaching. They didn't prepare correctly for Marcel Reed to come in. They did not prepare at all for a running quarterback, and you've seen them just get burned. And so it messed them up in the second half.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see in a 12-team playoff, Bama get left off the list in the first year of Kalen DeBoer.
Yeah, I think that LSU knocks them out, and I think they're fine. But I don't think that Ole Miss is better than Bama. If we're going to be completely honest, I think that Ole Miss it just has some major flaws as a team as a whole, and as like a coach with Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, I think Jackson Dart is getting a little overhyped. He's already fallen into the category of but he has so much talent and he's big. He's the next Josh Allen. When it's like, all right, come on, guys, like. He's not exactly like dominating this college football right now. All right, we have 21 is Army moving up the ranks. They face Air Force this week in a game I think they should get a blowout win here. Washington State, Utah State, then Colorado getting on the list. They have Texas Tech next week. Illinois hanging around. Missouri for some reason hanging around.
Illinois. Say it with
Illinois.
Me.
Illinois. I like the S because it's like they're making Illinois with an E.
Who did that? Was it Big Sean?
Yeah, I think so.
His corny ass.
Whoa, no.
Big Sean's so corny. But anyways.
All right, Missouri hanging on the list. They play Oklahoma next week. I think regardless of what happens this week, Missouri should be off this list.
Yeah, I don't. They should be nowhere near a top 25 team. They are not. I mean, I get what they did last year, but they are not the same team. This is not a good team, and we've seen them get smacked by teams that realistically we know are contenders. And so like they have no business being up at the top. They have no business being in this conversation. Colorado, on the other hand,
Making some
I
noise.
think this was such an overcorrection. Last year, we had the hype. Everyone was excited. We're like, okay, well, they're going to be dog shit again, like this year. And I think they've sneaky just gone under the radar the majority of the year. I mean, we've talked about them, but like talking about them as serious contenders in the Big 12, I think we got to start to kind of bring that up because, yeah, they did lose to Kansas State, but Kansas State, again, is so hot. And I'm not a big fan of Kansas State, but they are so hot and cold that realistically Colorado could have beat them on any given day. I give them a chance. I give them a chance against any of these Big 12 teams. I think there's not like there's days and games where you could see them like, oh yeah, I could see them beating a BYU. I could see them beating a Iowa State. So you got to give them credit. They've gone out there and they've put up really good games, very entertaining games for this entire season.
Yeah, and I think they are in that third or fourth best team in the Big 12, but I'd need to see them beat BYU. I'd need to see them beat Iowa State before I'm like, yeah, Colorado deserves a spot at the top here.
That's true. But I mean, they're doing it. They're moving around, so I feel pretty good about it.
All right, well, that's the top 25 this week. We'll be back next week with the new one. I really don't know how it's gonna go. Who's your pick right now to win the whole thing?
To win the whole thing, probably Georgia. If we're gonna be completely honest, I think, yeah, Georgia has the loss, but I mean, they made Texas look just so inferior. Their defense is smothering. I think that Georgia overall has the best team, but sneaky, I could also see Texas A&M doing it just because we've seen them in big game against LSU this past week, and that might just be recency bias for me. But I like that Texas A&M team. If they stick with Marcel Reed, I think that they are going to go pretty deep in this playoff.
I'm going Texas A&M all the way. I'm going all in A&M. I've been
Okay, I
watching
got to
them
change
all
my answer then.
season.
If you're going Texas A&M,
I'm going all in. I've been watching them this season. I like what I see. I think they got something this year. I'm going A&M.
we're going recency bias then.
No. All season I've been like, they're a good team. They're a good team. They're a good team.
Scroll up for me. Let me see.
Maybe
I
Indiana.
don't I don't believe in Ohio State this year. I
No, I
don't.
know.
100%. Like I think Ryan Day, he just doesn't have it. And if they lose to Indiana, people are going to be calling for Coach Signetti to go over there. I don't believe in Tennessee. I don't believe in sneaky Oregon could do it. I think that'd be like my third team is like I think Oregon could do it. I think they put up a strong performance again against Ohio State. And I got to see what Penn can do. Realistically, everything's been leading up for Penn State to this Ohio State game, and it just sucks if Drew Allar is going to be out for this one. I think that this could have been, if he doesn't play, you just look back on it and like, what could have been for this Penn State season? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think Miami has the defense to do it, but I like maybe their offense could put up 60 and win it. I think Texas could potentially. I know they got really tore up in that loss, but I think they could bounce back and maybe win it.
The one thing with Texas is their O line.
Yeah. BYU, they're just exciting. I think though, like Big 12, they're
No,
not at that level.
yeah, I
Clem
don't think they're a serious contender.
could Clemson really sneak like get in there and win it?
I don't know. That's like a
That's
sneaky dark horse, like that. You're like, okay, we've seen them week one get blown out, but after
I
that, they've just gone out there and played Clemson ball.
I would take this Clemson team more serious than Miami in the
Yeah,
playoffs.
100% because they actually have a defense
Yeah.
and they've been there. They have pedigree. Like that, you trust Dabo Sweeney more than Mario Cristobal. I think that's not a crazy take.
Yeah. All right. Well, please subscribe, like, comment who you think is going to win it this year, and we'll see you next time.
All right, later.